Alright everyone, welcome back to CPL Season 3 Week 2 recap. And today I'll be covering all the game except for RSSP versus Namu because RSSP is currently in Germany, so that game will be covered in the Week 3 replay, where hopefully we get his next game as well. But for now, there's no updates with rosters. Somehow, no one has made a free agency pick, which is actually insane to me. But we'll just be jumping into the games. And I believe the first game that was played this week was, let's see here, Steel Type Elite 4, aka Squigs, versus Tiff Tiff. So, looking at the matchups here, Toxapex is clearly the biggest threat to Simon's team, as he has only 2 or 3 maybe Pokemon capable of killing it. The Hoopa, maybe the Rotom Donphan, and the Indeedee. While Pex will definitely just be walling the Sneasler and Valiant for life. And probably will wall the Polteageist and Decidueye as well. And on Tiff's side, the biggest threat is probably Zapdos. Once the Rotom goes down, nothing wants to switch into a Hurricane or a Volt Switch. And Garchomp's also alright. Definitely does well into Sneasler, and everything besides Valiant, really. But it'll definitely get worn down, so maybe one for ones at best. And the other guys, I don't really know what they'll be doing. Maybe Lilligant or Lucario could come out, try and spam CC, as Simon's team doesn't really have a good fighting switch-in that takes either one of them on very well. But for now, we will just hop into the game, where we see... go back to the team preview real quick. Tiff decided to bring neither fighting type, but instead opted to bring the Electros and Spiritomb, where Simon just brings the top Pokemon minus Valiant, which definitely could have been a threat, but instead opts to bring the dumbass Cryogonal and Indeedee. So let's hop into the game. Donphan versus Garchomp. Garchomp sets up rocks and immediately dies to Ice Spinner. That tells me the Donphan's probably a bit offensive, or just the Garchomp has no bulk at all. But either way, we'll have to see how Tiff responds to simply losing the Garchomp turn 1. And she goes into Electros, which gets spun on, taking 20%, but it does a hefty chunk back with Giga Drain. So Simon's gonna have to switch in, and he goes Rotom Heat, which takes almost nothing from the Giga Drain. Misses the Wisp, sadly, and gets Dragon Tailed out, dragging in the Cryogonal. So, right now, nothing on Tiff's team resists Cryogonal, but at the same time it is a Cryogonal. And it does 14 with Freeze Dry, gets discharged, no para, sadly. And he just goes right back to Rotom, takes another Dragon Tail, this time into Sneasler, a more favorable matchup. But Simon decides he doesn't want to stay in on this matchup, probably fearing a para, and decides to go with Donphan, and gets U-turned into Gastrodon. Gastrodon on Donphan, Simon goes Decidueye, tanks an Ice Beam, which does nothing with a Yachi Berry, and Tiff switches into Pex, trying to take whatever grass move it decides to go for. Goes for a Leaf Storm, showing that it is indeed a special set. And now we have the nearly full health Toxapex. Probably going to see a Toxic or a Surf coming out from it. We see a Shadow Ball do 12%, and Decidueye is now Toxic. That could be good for Gastrodon in the future, with this on a timer. I think it still gets Roost, but with Toxic wearing away at it, that could end up being bad in the long term. Simon opts to go Donphan on the recover. I believe Pex should tank one Earthquake, so it could stay in and Surf, or she could go Zapdos. She opts to stay in, hit the Surf, and Donphan is down. And we see Cryogonal come in. Now, Toxapex could tank a Freeze Dry and go for Toxic, but she opts instead to switch out, probably not wanting to get chipped too much, and goes Spiritomb, taking a Freeze Dry, doing 29, basically nothing. Hits another, and now the Cryogonal takes a burn. Hits one more Freeze Dry on the Pain Split. Spiritomb's health massively increases thanks to its low health. We see the Cryogonal just recovering, some more attacks being thrown off, and it's left pretty low at the end here, but Spiritomb's gonna go down. We'll see how Tiff decides to respond by going Electros. Once again into Rotom on the Giga Drain. I wonder if the Eel has any way to hit... Yeah, no, it has nothing to really damage the Rotom. So this should be a free switch into Eel no matter what, especially since there's no rocks up. Eel takes the Wisp. Dragon Tails it out, this time doing 6%, and Sneasler comes in. Again switching out, fearing the burn. We see Eel U-turn out into Gastrodon this time. I don't believe the Rotom is Terra, so we'll probably see a Decidueye switch in here. Which we do. And it takes some Earth Power, doing 15%. It's getting a little bit low now. And Tiff stays in, predicting the non-grass move, and hits an Ice Beam. Now the Decidueye is getting pretty low. So we'll see if Simon wants to try and Roost and save it, or switch out predicting the Toxapex double. You see the Roost attempting to save it, and the Ice Beam from Tiff catching that, and down Decidueye goes. In comes Cryogonal, threatening a Freeze Dry. Tiff stays in and recovers. I don't think that'll be helping. Freeze Dry at 4x is going to be doing a ton. And Cryogonal has no way to hit, or Gastro has no way to hit the Cryogonal, so it just recovers. It can't, yeah, Cryogonal can just recover on it. We see it does do that as she goes Eel. Eel once again inviting in Rotom, Dragon Tail to get out. Cryogonal back in on the Dragon Tail. Once again Dragon Tail. This time getting Sneasler. Will he switch out again, fearing Para? Yes. Distra doing a respectable chunk to Rotom. Maybe she can stay in and go for it again. Attempting to go for the Zapdos endgame. No, she U-turns out probably into Gastro, but I think at this range Gastro dies to overheat. But instead of risking it, Simon decides to go Cryogonal. Risking another Freeze Dry. Barely missing the kill, but we see Sludge Bomb doing absolutely nothing. And Cryogonal just healing it off. Put it to fast so we get through this. Yep, down the Gastro goes to Freeze Dry. In comes Zapdos, takes a ton from Freeze Dry. Takes a Hurricane, doesn't die. And down goes Zapdos, and Cryogonal will finish off the Eel, probably? No, decides to recover once more. And just skip ahead a little. Yeah, Cryogonal somehow ends up sweeping. I guess Tiff probably should have tried to Toxic it earlier, back when it was in versus Pex, because you see Freeze Dry is barely doing half, so it probably would have been a free Toxic, and if the Cryogonal was Toxic, I don't think it ever would have done anything this game. And as well, I think she shouldn't have let it get the recover off versus Gastrodon. She should have tried to hit it with a Surf, predicting the recover, because once the Pex misses the Toxic, you just have to keep this low so it doesn't keep switching in. But yeah, we didn't even see Indeedee or Sneasler do anything this game. But yeah, that's the first game of the week. Next game, I believe, is Inside Outside versus Arsha. And there's oops. Inside Outside's team versus Arsha. Arsha doesn't really have a good ground resist, so Landorus can definitely go off. And as well, he doesn't have a good switch into Roaring Moon, so that's another massive threat. But on his side, he does have Dragapult, which, if it sets up a DD, does threaten to just instantly beat Sam's. And Urshifu doesn't really have a good rapid Surging Flow switch in. That's the move, sorry. So only these two resist water, and neither one wants to take a CC, so maybe Urshi can do it. And other than that, Volcanion and Glamora are alright threats. Espathra can definitely threaten to sweep if Overquill or Screamtail get low. But it's mainly going to be these two trying to finish it off. And the same on Sam's team, it's going to be these two. Maybe Screamtail can spread Para to neutralize one of them. Or just try and get a Brox. But let's jump into the game. So we see Sam decides once again to bring out the Electrode, while Arsha decides he wants the Grimmsnarl, probably going for a screen setup spam strat. And let's see here. Lando comes in on the Glamora, switches out into Balloon Volcanion. I was actually expecting it to be Balloon Glim and Specs Volcanion, but turns out it might be the opposite. So we'll probably see Sam switch out, which he does into Screamtail on the Steam Eruption, which does absolutely nothing, but it does get the burn. We'll see how Sam wants to respond to this. Probably set up rocks? No, he goes for the Wish. Maybe going into Lando. Trying to pop the balloon with a Sludge Bomb. And Arsha sees that and stays in, goes for Toxic, so now Lando is definitely a lot less threatening. We see a Terra Blast do half, and we see the Life Orb plus Toxic racking up, so this might not be as much of a threat anymore. In comes Urshi, hits a Trailblaze onto Overquill, does nothing after the Leftovers heal. Goes for an SD, but takes a Barb Barrage Poison, which is unfortunate. Definitely can't be sweeping anymore. In comes Quaquaval on the Surging Strikes, gonna do nothing, takes the resist. And even if we could see a CC come out now, the Urshi's definitely going to be going down. We actually see Rocky Helmet take out the Urshi before the Poison can, so now the Rapid Spin fails. Spikes are probably up to stay this game. We see Dragapult on the Ice Spinner, does under half, absolutely nothing. And Arsha, seeing that, decides to switch out. I don't know why he went for that. He should have just stayed in, gone for Dragon Darts, tried to take out the Quaquaval. Instead he goes into Grimmsnarl, and we'll probably see Quaquaval go for a spin on the Reflect. Yeah, so now there's no spikes, and Quaquaval could do something. Gets Parting Shotted on into Espathra the Flamigo. After an SD, this Aqua Step's going to be doing a respectable chunk. Yeah, 34%. And we'll be seeing these two set up for a bit, so I'll just put it on hyper fast. Yeah, just more Calm Minds and Roosts. Reflect finally runs out, so Flamigo finally takes the kill on Quaquaval, and in comes Overquill, which definitely tanks one. Yep, Liam does nothing, and it takes a crunch, goes down. So in comes Dragapult, finishing it off with the Dragon Darts. And Roaring Moon, probably a Scarf set that comes in on Dragapult. Yep, takes it out with a crunch. Grimmsnarl gonna be probably setting up screens. And Lando can go for a Sludge Bomb here. In comes Volcanion, takes a Sludge Bomb, down goes the Balloon. I don't think Earth Power will be killing through the screens, so perhaps Sam could try and save this, go into Screamtail, wait out the screens, and then kill it. Yeah, he goes Screamtail. Oh, we see a Protect from the Volcanion, try to get more Toxic, but in comes the Grimmsnarl. Maybe Lando comes in, takes the Wish. You see, he wants actually the Screamtail to be taking it this time. Probably wanting to avoid Volcanion sweeping. Parting Shot out into Glamora now. Thunderbolt doing 6%, absolutely zero. While Glamora starts setting up hazards. And now we probably see a switch to Lando. No, he saves it again, goes for another Thunderbolt doing nothing. Maybe this time we'll be seeing it? No, Sam's committing to the Thunderbolt down Glamora plan. We see an Earth Power for Glim, so maybe it doesn't have a way to touch Lando. But the spikes are definitely going to be dangerous to Sam's team. There's no more removal left, and everything except Lando, who's toxic, is grounded. He seems to just want to just T-bolt down everyone, so we'll see how that works out. In comes Glamora again on the Wish. Yeah, now he finally goes Lando on the Earth Power, which blocked, and we're definitely going to see a free Earth Power come out from Lando. Oh, we actually see a nasty plot on the Grimmsnarl sack. So, yep, in comes Volcanion, not going to tank that at +1. In comes Grimmsnarl, just doesn't have any way to hurt this, because it's slower even. It actually takes the Earth Power, which is kind of crazy. But it's going to go down to the second one. And finally, in comes Glamora, and that should go down, and that's GG. Yeah, so no ground resist. Lando does end up doing it. And then we have the next game, which should be me versus Sunny. Now, looking at the teams, Sunny does have the Ting Lu, which walls pretty much everyone except for Tauros, Serena, and Ursaluna. So that's going to be his biggest asset in this game. He's going to need Ting Lu to be the defensive answer. He also has Iron Bundle, which it's not fast enough to outspeed Aleki, but it does outspeed and threaten every other Mon on the team, so that's definitely the win con of the game. But it's not the only win con, because Cinderace and Zoroark, there are answers, but like Arcanine and Tauros, but they can definitely get broken past. And on my side, I have the Hydreigon and Aleki as the two big ticket items. But versus Ting Lu, neither one's really as dangerous as it could be. Hydreigon can break past because it does end up walling Ting Lu, but Aleki is definitely not breaking through Ting Lu anytime soon. So Ursaluna is going to be the main answer. Nothing on Sunny's team besides Bundle or Cinderace can OHKO it, so it's going to have to do a lot of work in breaking through the walls. So yeah, let's hop right into the game. So Sunny actually brings the Arboliva in this game, which, yeah, I guess it does end up working out, because I bring this Serena trying to catch the Ting Lu, and Arboliva does an alright job walling Serena, since I didn't end up putting high jump kick, since I needed rapid spin on this set. So we'll see how it works out. We see Cresselia in on Arcanine, goes for the Protect, dodging the Will-O-Wisp, and he goes Tornadus to tank the Will-O-Wisp while I go for Flamethrower, actually predicting the Cinderace switch in, but we see the Tornadus eject buttons out into Iron Bundle, and yeah, this is what I was scared of in prep. The Iron Bundle hitting the Hydro Pump versus this team. I decided to go Klefki since it should tank any hit, and it takes 60 from this Hydro, which tells me that the bundle is 100% specs. But, Sunny's probably going to be switching out, so he doesn't want this getting paralyzed from a Prankster T-Wave. So I take that chance and end up going for the T-Wave, which he decides not to switch out on, takes the kill with Hydro, and in comes Serena. Now, because we both know his spec, so at this point he has to switch out, I decided to go for Seed Bomb, predicting the Cresselia or maybe Tornadus to come in, and I didn't want to U-turn out, since I was thinking maybe he could have gone, he could have stayed in with Bundle, predicting the U-turn. It tried to catch something else with the Hydro, but I say with safe Seed Bomb. In comes Arboliva though. Takes a ton from Seed Bomb thanks to the Seed Sower. Hyper Wave's doing just under half. And I U-turn out into Arcanine, which is extremely SPDF, as it ends up taking under 40 from that, and threatening with Flamethrower. Sunny decides to switch out to Cress. Now, the Cress is a big threat, since if this is Moonblast, nothing on the team switches in too often. And the only thing threatening this to hit with an OHKO is going to be the Ursaluna, so I actually decide to go for a Will-O-Wisp, try and take it down with chip damage first, but it hits the Calm Mind, so I'm immediately terrified. Go out straight to Ursaluna. Takes nothing from Moonblast, but Flame Orb active, so now Ursaluna's on a timer while Cresselia is free to switch out here, and probably gonna see a Protect too. Yeah, so I go for a Facade trying to catch a kill because nothing on the team switches into a Facade. As we see, Tornadus comes in, dies. Crit definitely did not matter. And Ursaluna is now just under 70. Because Ursaluna is so slow that even paralyzed Iron Bundle's tanking it. So I decided to switch Arcanine in, thinking Sunny doesn't want to risk a Hydro Pump miss, and might be predicting Serena to come in. And I do end up catching the Ghost Terra plus Ice Beam, which does nothing, forcing a switch, this time into Cresselia on a Morning Sun. And I go straight Ursaluna, don't give it a chance to Calm Mind for free. Goes once again for Protect. This time I decide to SD. Definitely doesn't matter. Nothing's switching into Facade anyways, but yeah. Down goes Arboliva. And Seed Sower actually saving the Ursaluna a bit, keeping it a little healthier. This time I go Arcanine again, and the bundle gets parried, so who knows what it goes for, but I go Serena, try to catch the Hydro Pump, but instead he switches out to Crest, probably predicting that, or maybe thinking he doesn't want to take a Flamethrower, and goes for Moonblast on Serena. Does nothing, even with a crit. That's like U-turn out. Now with the U-turn and that crit damage, that tells me this is probably full Spadess Cresselia. So I go Hydreigon here, and this is Terra Hydreigon, Terra fighting. And what I go for now is Terra into fighting, avoid the 4X, on the Protect, and go for a Dragon Dance. Now, this is DD, Crunch, Taunt, Terra Blast. Nothing on Sunny's team takes that now. Except for Crest, maybe. So I go for another DD. Moonblast does a ton with a crit, doesn't matter. But it's going to die to a Crunch. And down goes Cresselia. In comes Ting-Lu. I taunt on the potential Whirlwind. It just goes for Earthquake, doesn't have anything to hit me with, so get the Terra Blast off twice on a Ruination here, but definitely healthy enough to tank anything anyways. Cinderace comes in on Terra Blast, dies. In comes the bundle, probably hoping this doesn't have, or this doesn't kill with Crunch, but I'm max attack, so yeah, this also dies. And now Ting-Lu comes in. I'm just gonna get outsped and hit with the Terra Blast, so yeah. The fake Dragonite Hydreigon ends up doing it this game. Taking 4 kills somehow. But yeah, on to the next game. This time it's, let's see here, Joseph versus MB12. Very conveniently next to each other. So I helped Joseph a lot with PVs for this game. And what we ended up finding was the Spectrier was a massive threat even with the Galarian Moltres on the team. So he ended up taking a bit for that. And Chien Pao, the only times it ended up losing the game was when Talonflame got a lucky flame body on it. But anytime that didn't end up happening, it just sort of swept through the team. So he came up with some techs to try and counteract that, which we'll probably be seeing in the battle. And on Joseph's side, there's the Palafin, which only Azu and Mence really want to switch in on, but Mence could get hit with an Ice Punch. Azu really doesn't switch in too often. Treads can definitely tank a hit from Chien Pao, and Moltres gonna have to be the main Spectrier answer. Mew could literally be anything, who knows. And yeah, Talonflame, as I said before, was the main Chien Pao switch in. So let's get into the game. So we see that MB12 decides to bring the Morgrim this time. Why? I don't know. Maybe he just really likes Morgrim. Since he didn't also bring in the week 1 game versus me. So yeah, we see the lead, Treads versus Scizor. Treads is the rocker for Joseph, so we'll probably see that even if the Scizor decides to go for Suthi, as it actually goes for U-turn into Qianpao. And Qianpao tries to Sacred Sword. It does not kill the Treads, so Treads gets a free EQ off. Does a lot to Qianpao, and it goes for Crash. Now, Joseph goes Palafin here, which I think was a misplay. Because if we scroll back up, MB12 was Terra, Grass, Dugtrio. Now, Dugtrio is not bulky by any means, but it is fast, and it is strong enough to kill unhero Palafin. So Joseph goes for the Jet Punch, kills the Qianpao. And then Dugtrio comes in, Terra Grasses, and Jet Punch not doing enough to even 2 a KO, and just dies to Terra Blast. I think Joseph should have tried to go Talonflame, or maybe even Sylveon there. He should not have let Palafin get Dug Trapped this early. Because now, Palafin was the main win con, especially since MB12 did not bring Azu, so if Salamence dies, it's just game over. Palafin comes in, clicks Jet Punch 6 times, it wins, because this is a banded Palafin from that damage. But instead, now the Palafin's dead, so we'll see how Joseph responds, and he goes into Talonflame. I think he could have actually gone Moltres here, because clearly this is probably a banded Dugtrio. So he could have tried to go Moltres, go for an Agi or a Nasty Plot, and do some damage to MB12, but instead he goes Talonflame, probably hitting a Wisp or a Flamethrower here. Actually opts to go for a U-turn, getting momentum and just... Yeah, he goes into Moltres now, which I think he should have just started with this. But in comes Agi from the Moltres, takes a Play Rough, which is about 40. And Air Slash, not quite 2-hit KOing, but crit Play Rough sadly, but now we're into the Berserk range, so Air Slash will be killing, even through the light screen. But Morgrim does get up the screens before it goes down. Scizor's gonna Bullet Punch, finish it off, but he decides to save it, go Talonflame, no Flame Body on the U-turn, sadly. In comes Spectrier. The main answer's way too low to switch in now, so we'll probably see Sylveon. Yeah, with this Spadef, Sylveon should be decent at checking Spectrier, even through the light screens. Sub doesn't really matter since Sylveon, if it's Hyper Voice, that goes through the substitute. Put on a Hyper Fast for this. Just some Calm Mind Wars. The customary get to +6 and see who crits first. Yeah, MB12 first crit wins, I guess. Although, Sylveon does have Wish, so it's probably going to win this unless Spec gets a crit, no matter what happens. Because we see Hyper Voice doing 43 when Shadow Ball's doing 22. Double Spadef drop is annoying, but Shadow Ball once more, one more Spadef drop, and finishes off the Spec. If this was Wish, Joseph probably should have tried to heal up Sylveon before ending this, because now it's in range of Dugtrio, forcefully removing it, which does indeed come in, takes out Sylveon. But Talonflame once more. And I think right here, Joseph has a free Flamethrower. If Mence comes in, you can go for a Wisp after, which he does have. But he instead decides to go for a Wisp here. He should have probably just gone for a Flamethrower. But now, even versus Scizor, he goes for a U-turn. Maybe, again, predicting the Mence, but again, I think he should have just Flamethrowered, gone for a Wisp after if Mence came in. But now that Scizor's alive, and in comes Mew, takes the burnt U-turn, which still does a fair chunk. Dugtrio comes in, takes the rocks, nearly dead. EQ is doing 38. Oh man. Oops. Yeah, here we go. Mew Ire defenses after the EQ. Now here, if he had gone for a Flamethrower, it could have been the same position, except Mew was a lot healthier since it didn't take the U-turn. And as we'll see, it does end up mattering, because it takes another EQ, finishes off the Dug with stored power. Now it's at 27, and Mence comes in. So if it was a lot healthier, Mew probably does beat the Mence 1v1. But instead it takes the outrage, barely eats, and Joseph goes for a second Iron Defense, which I definitely think he should have stored powered here. I don't know if it ends up mattering, but stored power probably does a good chunk to Mence. And yeah, Mew's just going to go down because second Iron Defense doesn't tank it. Mence, confused, will probably see Scizor come in, avoiding the hacks. Yeah, on a Wisp. We'll see a Flamethrower for sure now, as Mence is going to come back in. Probably take a Will-O-Wisp. And we see it is Scarf Mence, because it outspeeds the Talonflame. Takes a Will-O-Wisp here. Now, this is what I meant earlier. If Mew hit a stored power, it would probably be about 25% health, so I don't know if that does matter. But either way now, Mence gonna hit an Outrage, gonna kill. It just has to hope it's a 2-turn. Nope, not a 2-turn, so in comes Moltres, and yeah, I was gonna go down to Mence. So MP12 does end up clutching it out with Mence 1-0. So, next game. This game is versus Proj versus Materia. I said last week that Proj doesn't have a real Dark Resist, so we'll probably see Chi-Yu come in, be faster than everyone besides these two can't even kill it, and just Dark Pulse kill them all. So let's see how that is the wrong game. Let's see how that ends up going for Proj. So we see Chi-Yu doesn't need Come, plus a couple others who probably won't end up mattering. In comes Tinkaton versus Lando. Switches out, avoiding the EQ on the rocks. And we see Dragonite Encore Lando into rocks. Probably going to see a DD here. Actually, this is just Ice Spinner. No setup needed. In comes Tinkaton. Trying to tank probably an Ice Beam or a Sludge Bomb. Yeah. And is it going to go for rocks or knock? Knocks off the Sandy Shocks. No more boots. No hazards though. Maybe we'll see rocks here. Yep, rocks go up now. As he paralyzes Dondozo, takes the liquidation. Probably gonna see a knock on the Dozo. No more boots, yeah. Takes the liquidation, barely lives. In comes Gren. And Gren is also a massive threat, because if it's Grass Knot, that threatens Dondozo. And nothing else wants to take it. So Shocks comes in, takes the Grass Knot, and goes down. Cerulege comes in. Gren switches out. Maybe it was a choice Gren, so doesn't want to stay in and give Cerulege free setup. But in comes Annihilate, interesting enough. Which takes a Shadow Sneak. Doesn't do a lot, but it is Helmet. And that's Life Orb Cerulege, so it takes a ton in return. Gets a roll, so it thankfully won't take an Rage Fist and die, but Helmet, Life Orb, gonna put it down in range of rocks, so Gren can come back in, go for a Water or Dark move. Yep, finish off Cerulege there. And now Dozo comes in again. As it Terra Fairies on the Grass Knot, so the Gren wasn't choiced. Might have been fearing a choiced Cerulege then. But Terra Fairy allows Dondozo to tank that Grass Knot pretty comfortably. Gren does tank a Body Press though, so it gets another Knot off. Dozo rests first, so we'll see what Materia does to counter that. Oh, King Gambit comes in, risking a Sleep Talk Body Press, but yeah, it doesn't get it, but tanks it just barely. It's Fairy Dozo, so it can't stay in on an Iron Head. In comes Lando on the Iron Head, taking 23. He does decide to save it. Could come back in later. But Lando hits the smackdown on Tinkaton, goes down. And now Gren, there's no water resist remaining, or ice resist for that matter, so yeah, free kill. I doubt even Garganackle or Slowking was taking it at that range. Dozo, Sleep Talk, Rest Talk, yep. So now, King Gambit can come in, probably go for an Iron Head, which does end up killing thanks to the Fallen. Slowking, this is probably going to die to a Kowtow Cleave. Yep. And I think Garg should tank an Iron Head at this point. It actually gets taunted, but goes down. So the King Gambit's Covert Cloak, which doesn't matter, but that's an interesting tech for Garg and Ekkel. I guess he predicted Garg not to ever want to body press on King Gambit, so yeah. Takes an Iron Head, 60, and King Gambit goes down, but at this point it's too late. Chiyu's just going to come in and finally finish the game off. So, I'm surprised we didn't see Chiyu a lot earlier, but that's not an unexpected outcome to see Chiyu finishing off the game here. So yeah, Materia ends up taking this one 2-0, and on to the next game, which is actually, I missed one earlier. It is Christian, aka Arborsoul, versus Luminous Fox. Oops. This is another game I helped PB a lot for. Now, on Christian's side, Enamorous and Walking Wake are definitely the two biggest threats to Luminous's team. Nothing... I guess Corviknight is a pretty good switch into Enamorous, especially if it's Mirror Armor. But Walking Wake, yeah, there's no good water resist. If Specs Wake comes in, hits a Surf or Hydro, nothing wants to take that. But on Luminous's side, his own Enamorous is just as big a threat. Amoonguss can try and tank it, but I don't think it can really hurt Enamorous back. And also, if the Enamorous goes for Mystical Fire or something, Amoonguss will just end up falling. Iron Hands, probably not as big a threat. Quagsire and Houndstone both walled it. But Arcanine and Gothitelle are definitely killer. Arcanine kills every Pokemon on Christian's team except Quagsire. While Gothitelle, I think it could attempt to trap every one of the Pokemon here. None of them are safe from it. But I think the main target for Gothitelle would either be Walking Wake, trying to get rid of the water attacker, keep himself safe, or Heatran, because it is the only thing stopping Enamorous from just clicking Moonblast, and Amoonguss is just going to die to Gothitelle no matter what it tears, so yeah, let's see how the game goes. So we see Luminous actually decide to bring Mudsdale, so that probably means it's not Rock's Arcanine, but it's Rock's Mudsdale instead. And Mudsdale is pretty good into Slitherwing, but yeah, Christian also does bring the Slitherwing, and as expected, the Wake, Enamorous, and the 3 defensive Mons. So he leads Heatran on the Cyclizar. Cyclizar probably going for a Shed Tail here, because Heatran, for some reason, does not learn Roar in this generation, sadly. We probably would have seen that if it did, but instead we see Mudsdale come in on a Flash Cannon. Heatran's not going to be one-shotting this, so we see an Amoonguss switch in. Maybe a Spore comes out here. We see a Spore on Safety Goggles, Arcanine. Now, that's good for the short term, but I think that could be a liability long term, because if the Quag or Heatran does end up getting rocks, Luminous is kind of hard pressed to spin or defog them away. Yeah, he has Corvid and Psych, but both of those let in threats of their own, so he kind of needs to just pressure these two to stop the hazards from ever going up. So we see a double into Staraptor on Quagsire, which is Boots here, but he decides to switch Corv. Maybe he was predicting the double to be Heatran or just stay in for a Stomping Tantrum, but instead we see Rocks go up from Quag, try to tank the Brave Bird as Corv comes in. And Rocks go up, probably see Defrog from Corv. We see an Iron Defense actually. In comes Heatran, which gets outsped by Corviknight. Yeah, interesting. Takes a Flamethrower thanks to an Occa Berry, which does nothing. Unfortunate burn, but it should still kill with Body Press. Well, Actually, Christian saves it and goes Quagsire. So yeah, uh, might be helpful. I don't know if the Heatran really switches in on anything, but maybe if there's an Amorous Sack, we'll see a Flash Cannon come out for free. And Quag's taking nothing from a Burnt Corviknight, thanks to Unaware. Namorous does switch in, no rocks on it. We see a Chilling Water. Funny enough, I didn't notice this in the PBs, but Unaware Chilling Water, nice anti-synergy. Does nothing to Enamorous, which goes for an Earth Power. That does a ton to Quagsire, which tells me this is definitely super offensive, not a setup bulky set. But it does take a Toxic, so we'll probably see... We actually see the Pecha Berry. I forgot about that. Pecha Berry, removing the Toxic. We'll probably see Christian go Amoonguss here, trying to avoid losing Quag for nothing. Actually, we see an Enamorous switching on Grass Knot, funny enough. I think Amoonguss was free, but Enamorous comes in, probably scaring this out with a Moonblast of its own, which does come. Doesn't kill, but gets a drop, so yeah, not dying in return. Staraptor comes in trying to revenge this. Christian actually goes Amoonguss here, probably expecting the Double Edge. I'm surprised he didn't have Brave Bird, because that hits everything just as hard as Double Edge, but better versus Amoonguss. Either way, though, Amoonguss is going down. Heatran comes in. I don't know if this tanks the Double Edge, so this is an interesting play. Yeah. He probably should have saved that. But instead he goes Quagsire now, and we'll see a recover for sure. Doing nothing with Double Edge. Goes down to Recoil eventually. Recover, half health. And now we see Cyclizar come in. Gets a knock, so no more boots for Quag. Takes a Chilling Water. I think he should have gone for Toxic this turn instead. Chilling Water is not really doing too much. Maybe he expected a... No, he probably expected a Shed Tail, trying to prevent one of the two Water Rakes from coming in. So yeah, never mind. Chilling Water is definitely the play there. But we see a knockoff instead. Probably going to see a recover. Instead of Chilling Water, trying to prevent this from getting hit something with Shed Tail. Toxic the Mudsdale. Body Press doing nothing. And we're definitely seeing a recover here. Roared out the Quagsire into Enamorous. Moonblast is definitely free now. Nothing on Luminous's team wants to take it. I actually see a Taunt. Opts not to kill with Moonblast for some reason. Goes for Taunt on the horse. But in comes Walking Wake. This threatens a kill with Surf, for sure. Gets a Sunny Day off first, though. Definitely not needed for this, but still funny. And now Cyclizar comes in, and this hits the Outrage. So at this point, we see in the chat, everyone's going off over Outrage Cyclizar. So Christian goes Slitherwing. Gets a Proto Boost, doesn't matter though. But I think right here he should have gone for CC, tried to finish one Pokemon off, and then Quag can stall out the other two for sure. But instead he decides to go for Flame Charge. Now, the Cyclizar is Scarf, and I don't mean to say that Christian should have seen that coming. I wasn't even expecting it to be Scarf myself. But I still think right here Slitherwing going for CC is just the safest play. If Luminous what he can do now is try and save the Cyclizar, go Mudsdale, and finish this off with a E-Speed from Arcanine. But I think if he went for CC here, finishes off Cyclizar, Quagsire is guaranteed to win. Instead of what you see though, Flame Charge happens, Outrage comes out, finishes off the Slitherwing because he doesn't need to Scarf Cyclizar. And now it's Quagsire versus the world. I'll just put it on hyper fast, but we'll see a bunch of recovers, Chilling Waters, and Toxics come out. Yeah, Chilling Water, chilled, And down goes Mudsdale. Wisp on the Arcanine, so that'll be helpful, the passive damage from that. You turn out to Arc, take another Chilling Water. Hard switch in. We see the Regenerator definitely coming in handy. Clodsire taking nothing from Arcanine, but Outrage spam. And then at this point, we're out of recovers on Quagsire, so he goes for the Chilling Water, gets the crit, and just barely takes down Cyclizar. And yeah, Quagsire barely clutches it out. But I definitely think Slytherin should have gone for CC there, tried to finish off the Cyclizar, and play it safe. I guess hindsight is 50-50 or 20/20 as they say, but yeah, I think CC was just too free there. Take out Cyclizar, and Quag is guaranteed to beat both of these because it is Terra Ghost Arcanine, not Terra Grass. They can't do anything to touch this. So yeah. But anyways, on to the final game of the week so far, which is Tezzy versus Broken Motor. Now on Broken Motor's side, he has Volcarona, which Tezzy actually has two good checks for, Florges and Clodsire. And I guess Slowking if it decides not to go Bug Buzz, but I don't think that's very likely. And Noivern too, but I don't think he would want to bring it. Florges and Claw are both pretty good answers to Volcarona. Even if it Terras, it can't Terra both. But we'll have to see what Motor decides to hit to try and break through those. But he also has Baxcalibur, which after DD is a massive threat. Nothing on the team actually beats it. And other than that, Diancie, Muck, pretty good defensive core. Meowscarada, I don't think it's very threatening into the team, but could do something. Tezzy has Zama. Volcarona is a pretty good answer to that, so it probably won't go for a setup win. But Thundurus is a massive threat. Motor actually has its own Thundurus, but can't do anything to Volt Absorb. So Terra Thundurus is one of the bigger threats to Motor's team. And Zarude, nothing wants to switch in on Zarude's hit, so that could... Zarude offensive could end up doing it. Other than that, Hariyama, Motor doesn't have a really good fighting resist, especially because Hariyama has knockoff potentially. And I think there's potential for spikes with Frostlass or Colossal to do something. And of course, Clodsire is going to have to do a lot versus Volcarona, and maybe one of the others will help. So let's hop into the game. Teams. Motor actually decides to go with Fortress in this game and doesn't go Diancie. Interesting enough. But we see lead mashup, Thun T, Meowscarada. Thun hits that Sludge Bomb on Meowscarada, which is slower, so either super bulky Meowscarada with no speed, or Scarf Thun. But Meowscarada's Sash sets up a Spike, and we'll probably see a Muck or Fortress. Yeah, Muck comes in on Sludge. So it's probably Scarf Thund. In comes Zamazenta on the Muck, and predicting that Broken Motor goes Volcarona. We see Clodsire come in, of course, as it Terras Psychics. Now, this is a massive threat to Tezzy's team. Even with Unaware, this should be taking a lot from Psychic with a stab. As we see, it actually does almost a kill, but barely tanks, hits with Toxic, so this isn't going to just straight up sweep. We'll end up finishing with Flamethrower. And in comes the Hariyama. Now, the play he wants to make is try and pivot between Hariyama and Zarude on Psychic and Flamethrower. And Broken Motor, seeing that, goes straight for Flamethrower, and Tezzy goes for the knockoff. So, yeah, 15th level reads here. But Volcarona goes down with just one kill, gets the Flame Body Burn. This might be Guts, so who knows if that matters. And in comes Thund. I think right there Hariyama should have just hit the Thundurus, it's not really doing anything else in this game. Like, it switches in on Fortress, sure, but as we'll see later, Tezzy has other ways to beat that. So I think he should have just hit this, predicted the setup, and tried to prevent it. But instead, he goes into his own Thunderous, takes the Psychic. Thunder T should be 1v1ing because it doesn't have to take a stab T-Bolt. Yeah. And now Bax comes in, and I think this was the biggest misplay of the game. I'll go back a turn. Yeah, we see the Bax come in. Now, I thought the Bax is probably going to be DD, because if it gets a DD off at this point, it probably wins. So, I think right here, even if it is Scarf T-Bolt, I think he should have just gone for it. Tried to get some chip off, and maybe bluff to Bullet Punch Hariyama. But instead he decides to go Zamazenta. Zamazenta does not tank an EQ because it does not get the +1 anymore. So we're going to see it just die to EQ here. So now he goes Thund into Hariyama. I don't get that play. I don't think he should have sat the Hariyama for sure. I think I don't know why he made that play. Maybe trying to catch a Ice Shard to scout the set and see what it has, or go for Focus Blast and predict a double into Alolan Muck if it didn't. But it is Ice Shard back, so Hariyama goes down. In comes Zarude. Now, I think what he's trying to go for is bait the move to hit Zarude, because the Zarude is Terra Fire, as we see here. So he's probably trying to bait a move to hit Zarude and go Frostlass, or try and play Terra Mind Games. And what we see now is it does end up working. Broken Motor goes Meowscarada, fearing the potential Terra Mind Games and not wanting to play into that game. Just going a safe Meowscarada pivot. And that will catch Frostlass, not kill him with Flower Trick, but yeah, Shadow Ball's gonna finish it. In comes Muck. You see a Destiny Bond attempt, but Taunt, not gonna happen. Shadow Ball doing nothing, finishing it off. And now, I don't... Okay, so he goes Thunderous here. Thunderous hits a T-Bolt, gets a chip, baits a knockoff. Now, this is the most questionable play of the game. In comes Zarude. Well, not questionable. This is like the only play I'd say is a misplay. And yeah, Tezzy does say it was a misplay later, but he Terra Fire Encores. Now, he should have just not Terra'd, and I don't know if it ends up mattering, but now he Terras, and Knockoff no longer resisted is doing 33. I think if he didn't Terra, he'd be just over 50% health, or just under 50%. But yeah, we see a Terra Blast. In comes Bats. Forester's Pivot, trying to catch a CC so Ice Shard can kill. But we just see a Terra Blast, because Tezzy doesn't have CC. But yeah, now Fortress comes in. Sturdy takes the hit. Motor probably should have gone to this before. Not even attempted to play the mind games, but he said he didn't realize Fortress had Sturdy, so yeah. But anyways, now Tezzy, he doesn't have CC on the Zarude, so it doesn't kill back, so what he decides to go for is he SDs, hoping that Fortress doesn't have any way to hurt him, and then it goes for Explosion and finishes off the Zarude. So I think if Zarude didn't Terra Fire, there was a roll where it lived that, and into Ice Shard. I don't know if that's guaranteed or even likely, but perhaps there was a roll. But yeah, either way, Explosion ends up killing Zarude, and Broken Motor wins 1-0 with the back caliber remaining. And then there's one more game yet to happen, of course, but Namu versus RSSP. I'll just say this game, I think this is a tough game to decide. I think Samurott setting up spikes isn't really that much of an issue because Skeletor and Moth are both going to be boots. Rotom's hovering over them anyways. And I think Urshi will come in on Ceaseless Edge, so he doesn't really want to let Urshifu in because Urshifu is the biggest threat to the team. It outspeeds everything besides Tornadus, which doesn't want to take a Wicked Blow. So Wicked Blow CC, even without a band, it probably threatens Daxbun if his jab Urshi. So I think, yeah, Urshi is going to be the biggest threat, and Samurott doesn't want to really let it in with Ceaseless Edge, so we'll probably not see that too often. Goodra, that's a good check to Golden Go and Tornadus. So these two, you'll probably need Goodra to keep them in check. Iron Moth, that's another good check to Golden Go. If it's Boots Morning Sun Moth, that could definitely do a lot. And also, nothing on RSSP's team wants to take a hit from Iron Moth. Gudra's the only one that really switches in safely, but even that can't do it more than maybe 2 or 3 times, especially if we see Hippo come in, set up rocks, and yeah, Gudra's not going to be switching into Moth very well. Another issue with that, Skeledirge also going to be firing off those Torch Songs, probably with a Terra Fairy, so Samurott doesn't do well versus it. And if that happens, Goodra probably wants to switch into that for Sludge Bombs as well. In which case, I don't see it beating both fire types very easily. So, basically I think the path to victory for Namu, Skeledirge, Iron Moth are just going to have to spam fire moves, and then Urshi is going to have to clean up later on. Goodra's going to keep Golden Go and Torn in check. Perhaps they could even go like Rest Talk with Boots to avoid spikes. And Rotom or Hippo, one of those is going to have to be the Great Tusk answer. And yeah, on RSSP's side, I think Tornadus, even though Namu has Goodra, Tornadus is definitely the biggest threat on the team. Usually it would be, like, if it wasn't for the Skeledirge, I would say Iron Leaves is very dangerous, but Skeledirge switches in pretty safely. So yeah, Leaves really shouldn't be too big of an issue, especially because Moth also checks it. Tornadus, on the other hand, I'm pretty sure it's the fastest Pokemon between 2 teams. Like, unless Ditto comes out, Tornadus is always going to be the fastest in the game. Because I definitely don't see Namu running a Scarf, Iron Moth, or Urshifu either. So, Hurricane Spam, very dangerous. It'll probably Terra Fighting, avoid Sucker Punch trying to hit the Goodra, super effective. And also, Golden Go, only Urshi and the Fires really kill it, but Skeledirge can't switch in, so maybe T-Wave? Who knows? And Tusk, another massive threat. Only ground resist, Rotom and Wochen, and neither wants to take a CC, so yeah, on RSSP's side, Torn Tusk are gonna have to do a lot of work, and from Namu, Fire Spam might end up doing it. But yeah, I guess I'll call the video there. I don't want to dive too deep into the Week 3 matchups right now, so yeah. Have a nice day, everyone who's watching, and comment who you think wins this matchup. My bet is on Namu. Zero Network shall be done this game, and goodbye.